firstly, I wanted to ask you about the Canadian Grand Prix and just the disappointment that it won't be happening this year.
Yeah, obviously when I heard the news, was extremely disappointed. A little bit of frustration as well. 2 years obviously as a Formula One driver, I won't get to experience my home race. I think most drivers who have a home Grand Prix on the calendar is one of the ones for sure they look forward to the most. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. So yeah, it's disappointing, but I understand the situation and the decision, and I agree with the decision. Based off the COVID situation back home in Canada, which unfortunately is it's not very good at the moment. So yeah, we're gonna have to wait another year. Obviously, positive side is it's been renewed another 2 years, even though those 2 years are way in the future. But yeah, I hope to take part in many Canadian Grand Prix, but we'll just have to wait one more year to get that experience.
Now, looking back to Imola, it was kind of a mixed weekend, real high point on Saturday, a lower point on Sunday. When you look back on that race, you've analysed it with the team. How do you feel coming into Portugal?
Yeah, obviously, I had to analyse, reflect on what happened on Sunday. It was my mistake. Not just the coming together with Nikita, but the circumstances that led to that, which was the going off just before that, because I obviously wouldn't have been in that position otherwise. So yeah, it's frustrating. I learn from it, try to make sure it doesn't happen again, and obviously in the more positive note, carrying the momentum of the Friday and the Saturday, which the pace was very strong, and trying to carry that over to this weekend in Portugal and kind of just build off of that positive momentum rather than the negative that happened in the race. So yeah, excited to get going.
Do you think you guys have got a car that can challenge for points on a regular basis?
To be honest, I think it's still too early to tell. I think Imola was clear that we were much the closest that we would have ever been. Obviously not just for qualifying, but for obviously the pace that George showed in the race in those conditions. Obviously the challenge for points, you need to have at least the fifth quickest car. I think realistically we're not the fifth quickest car. I think that's a bit ambitious to say at this point right now, but we can definitely get ourselves in positions if we have strong qualifying like in Imola to challenge for points and you kind of capitalize on opportunities. So I think it'll be as we were saying at the beginning of the year, very track dependent, very environmental condition dependent, but I definitely think we could have some more repeat performances like Imola.
Great stuff. And just finally on sprint qualifying, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm all for change or to try a change. The F1 format has been the same for many years. And obviously F1 is looking for some way to kind of create a bit more excitement. So I know there was a bunch of ideas being tossed around, reverse grids, sprints, races, and whatnot. Ultimately, we've ended at sprint qualifying. So from a personal point of view, it's basically, even though it's called sprint qualifying, it's basically an extra race, if I understand correctly. So obviously the racing is one of the most fun parts of the weekend. So it's from that side of things, I'm looking forward to it. And if anything, I think for the position we are in this year as a team, it can only serve to benefit us. Obviously, teams at the front, the extra unpredictability that a race start can create and everything that goes along with it is maybe not as appreciated for them. But I think it's just going to be a good experience, and excited to see how it pans out.